Hey, let's go over some football because
do you want that live? Do you want that live report very quick?
So, yeah, the correspondence report. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so just a quick one as well. Conan hooked me up with Ray and Dom for Austin, and they're the nicest people. Like that.
Right. Super nice. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, they're super nice, and so was Edge, because Edge was hanging out with Ray most of that, because obviously they're working together.
Where did you guys see them at?
At breakfast. Oh, they came. So I came down when me and Austin were having lunch. Dominic and Ray came down, and then I saw Edge and Ray again in the morning at breakfast.
Right, that's cool.
I mean, but they're like,
how did Austin like that?
Oh, he was shocked. Like he was shocked. Yeah, like because it's different. It's different with Edge, because slowly like it's become like it's one guy, it's another guy. Like he still gets he's immune to some stuff, like what is Drew, because Drew's been there since he's been born. Like I knew Drew before Austin was born, so it doesn't work with Drew. But as like things move forward, as like I become like friends with like Matt Riddle, and Matt Riddle came in and said hello to me while we were sitting with Ray. Like he still thinks that's a big deal. Like so, it's weird. It's very weird. The only one it doesn't really hit with is Drew.
Yeah,
even though he's the WWE. Right. Yeah, because it's like, oh, he's been there since I was born. Like this guy's around before I watched wrestling. We've met him years and years ago. But like as these new people come on, like it is like a big deal. Like he's straight onto Instagram, and I always text people. I'll ask people and say like, hey, like we met in this intimate surrounding. Like we didn't meet like at a Q&A or whatever. Like we met in a hotel, or you're sitting with us having like lunch or whatever. Can he post this photo? Like, and everybody always says, yeah, it's cool. Like, because it's not a normal like photo. It's not your wrestling table. The table photo, the table, the autograph table photo. It's not that. So yeah, but they're always fine with it. So, but yeah, so then we went down to the show. Obviously, as I've already spoken about, like the attendance and stuff, but part of it was taped off. But these people were like live and ready for it straight away, from the women's match to the final in the main event. I think people genuinely expected McIntyre to win. I thought it was stupid showing Karrion Kross, because I believe that made people less believe that McIntyre was going to win. But I do believe that was rejuvenated by playing Broken Dreams, because it all seemed very WrestleMania-ish at that point. And there was also a lot of WrestleMania stuff, like in terms of the banners on the lampposts and everything all around Cardiff. That's never happened for a pay-per-view outside WrestleMania. If you guys go to a SummerSlam, like I've been to like 3-4 SummerSlams, there's never like banners up on the streets and everything. So this was very much a WrestleMania in the UK, but we didn't get our champion. So they were bummed about that, but they were super live for that match. I think Edge got the loudest reaction. The Dominic turn worked perfectly, because I think people had, and I even said this to him, I said people knew the turn was coming. But I said, when you helped him win and then you turned, it obviously like completely shocked people. You got that Russo swerve there. The only problem is obviously he's with them the next night. So it doesn't quite make sense why he helped them win, or whether there was a conversation.
Yeah, the in-between time needs to be explained.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right.
If you're gonna go for that real shock, because I mean, the expected finish was that he would just help Judgment Day win and he joins them, but they went a different route, which got a much bigger reaction. Like it was more shocking. But then you need to explain, I helped you win the match. I maybe they don't have to. I hate like these loose ends. I don't know why. When you spend so many hours writing a show, why you don't tie up your loose ends. It's your job. It's your job to do it. Like it's your job to explain, okay, if we're going to go for this super swervy finish, we need to turn around and say what happened in those 24 hours. Because first of all, he was just pissed at Edge and he was pissed at his dad. And then in the next 24 hours, he's with Dark Judgment Day. Who called him? Did Rhea go into his room and give him or something like? Right. You know what I mean? I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but what did they do to him in the next 24 hours, and why he's there and cut his hair and all gothy and whatnot? So, but regardless of that tiny little criticism, I thought it was really like well done. And then they carried it on Monday. Like this is the hottest angle on WWE now. Obviously, until Roman comes back in. One other story I have is that Strowman's been specifically hired to be Roman's Saudi opponent because they don't have anyone credible. And Braun is really huge in Saudi. In fact, Braun's been living in Saudi on and off over the last year. Like he's like really close to like the king and everything since he's been with WWE, and he was invited down to the Anthony Joshua fight. Braun Strowman was the king's like guest at the Anthony Joshua fight, so he actually have a relationship with the royalty in Saudi, and they believe like he's a real big star, and he'll main event that show against Roman. Well, that's the plan at the moment. It's one of the reasons they rushed him in, right. So that's what he's going to go and do. So yeah, I did have a decent story this week. I didn't realize. But yeah, so that.
What was the demographics like of the show? A lot of women. How was the women? The women, kids.
It was very mixed. One thing I noticed, it was very much a lot of people from Wales from when they were doing the Wales video bit at the start. So that tells me immediately that they did manage to attract the casual audience. But you're going to do that when you lower the ticket prices. You give out 15,000 comps. Because you overpriced the event, you're gonna get a hometown crowd, which is what they had. Ultimately, I think that you could do this match again, and you could do it in Scotland. Once you get past the Rock match, Drew McIntyre is the right person to win in his home country, his real home country, which isn't Wales. But whether that happens or not, I mean, I'm much higher on Drew than I am on Cody, in terms just from a visual perspective. One thing I want to point out to you guys, you all buried me. Well, not Joe, but you and Conan buried me about the Gargano thing. Did you see the video views for Gargano's return and Strowman's return?
Oh, wait, I saw timeout. You guys are trying to make it sound like that we think what was the point I was trying to make about Johnny Gargano?
That he was
that they brought him back because he does decent backstage segments.
What is that?
That's his talent. We're not saying he's like coming back to be the champion, but like I can see why Hunter brought the guy back, because the guy does pre-tapes well, and I think they want smooth sailing when they produce that shoulder, and everybody they can do. Because bro, there used to be times like we used to like Pamela Paulshock. She was super hot, right? And she's a backstage interviewer stuff. Bro, they ended up firing her because they had to do so many takes, like 6-7 takes, because she would get her lines wrong and stuff, right? I just think that Hunter likes having people around that he knows. Okay, I can do one take. These are one take guys, you know. Well, yeah, I'm not thinking he's like I'm not a fan of Johnny Gargano. Like I'm not watching that show for him, but I'm just saying I think that's why they brought him in. It's because the guy can act, you know. That's what I would say.
All right.
But yeah, he probably doesn't do many. Like who's gonna like if you'd have a choice of looking.
The clips I'm looking at says Johnny Gargano's WWE return gets interrupted by Theory, 749,000 views, while Braun Strowman's return has 2.7 million.
Yeah. Well, Braun's obviously a bigger star than Johnny Gargano. Like
he's a bigger star, you know? And also he's that guy when you have that. So once you step outside the core, he has that audience that I always talk about, which is so people think that there's a hardcore audience and a casual audience, but they think this casual audience are this audience that like dip in and out and watch WrestleMania or whatever. No, there's also this audience that like used to watch this product and still check in on social media, right. And the 40 and the 40
which is why I think they bumped when they found out Vince was gone and it wasn't his show anymore. A bunch of people were like, oh, Vince is gone. That's not his show. Let me watch now. And it's like a 10% increase in the audience, you know?
Right, because when Rock comes back, how do you think they're going to magically get to 3.5-4 million again? It's not going to be through great advertising. It's going to be because there's a portion of the casual audience which are completely dismissed that do keep an eye on things in different ways. Like they don't watch everything, but like there's bits and pieces that they'll click on and they'll watch when The Rock comes back. Whether he can,
bro, I would bet half our audience doesn't watch the shows. I would say probably 50% of our audience probably doesn't watch the shows. They just listen to the podcasts. I think there's a considerable amount of people that do that. You know, because how much time do you really have? I think a lot of people listen to the podcast because you can sit there and work out while you're listening to the podcast and stuff. Like, you know, you could do other things where you listen to podcasts. When you watch a show, you have to watch the show. And like the shows are not good enough to get people invested into that time slot.
And just to let you know, like, for maybe you don't know, like my kid's 11, and he has significantly less time than me to watch TV, to do things. Right. Because he has to go to school and he gets homework because he's moved up to the next school. He has a sports activity to do every single day. He wants to dedicate some time to like gaming, like 6-7 hours a week to play PlayStation. So yeah, he doesn't have the time. I do. I'm during the day, like looking through betting lines. I can put wrestling on in the background on a low volume and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, it's difficult for kids. There's this demographic that they're really concerned about. Like you're not going to get them back with the content that you're doing. The 11 to 18-year-olds have too much to do to watch 7 hours a week of wrestling. It's not going to happen. You need to find a way to get them to watch 1 hour a week, which is what they can manage.
Right. Hey, let's get into some.
Hey, before you do the NFL preview, I'll ask this real quick to Billy. I'm sure Disco won't care at all, but Billy, how excited are you for Cobra Kai's return coming up? I think tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow. Like, so I think it comes at like 9 a.m. I have to wait for Austin to come back from school.
You know the time it's dropping.
People are obsessed with the show, Di, for sure. I think, dude, for like a 24, 25-minute episode, 10 episodes a season or 12, Disco, you could blow through that show in a week, and you probably enjoy it, being that I'm sure you love the Karate Kid, you know? Last
year I blew through it. Last year, we last 2 seasons, we blew through it in a day. So we've decided we're not going to do that. It's kind of like, you know, sustaining when you're having sex. That's how good the show is.
But you gotta avoid spoilers, though. You know, avoiding spoilers.
I watched the first episode of 24. Right, the first hour, the first season of 24, and I ended up spending like 17 straight hours watching it.
I heard it.
I could not watch the next episode.
Yeah,
you know?
I never saw Lost, but I heard Lost is like that, where you get really hooked. But yeah, I'll just say real quick before I know you want to move on. The reason I was so excited, I got my wife to watch it. We blew through the seasons, but I was excited last year because I was a big fan of Karate Kid 3, which everybody thought sucked. But I thought Terry Silver was the greatest ridiculous heel of all time, you know, so I'm looking forward to it too. It's something my wife and I watch now. So
yo, what up? This is Conan, and I host Keeping It 100, my co-host Disco Inferno, unfortunately.
Well, I'd say you're my co-host.
Listen, every Thursday here on Spreaker, we talk pro wrestling, sports, movies, music, TV, pop culture, and some politics. It's everything the rest of the pro wrestling podcasts are not.
Tune in to hear myself, the superior one, educate and inform.
Tune in to hear me bury Disco.
That's very disrespectful.
Join us every Thursday on Spreaker and keep it 100. Boom!